when we came to Congress, my wife was invited to participate in the Bible study with Jack Kemp's wife, Joanne Kemp. And she had a little group that met. In fact, that's where she was this morning. And so while one of the guests said, or one of the members said, at the prayer time at the end, she said, "I want you to pray. My niece is coming to stay with us for the next few months. She is expecting and is pregnant, and so she wants to leave the hometown, and she's going to come stay with us, and I'd like for your prayers on the situation and all that." So my wife, if you ever met her, she's the greatest person on the planet. Her main fault is that she has no guile. I mean, she is as straight out. If I'm at a dinner party and somebody says something and I whisper under my breath, I'm not real sure I agree with that. Bob's not sure he agrees with that. I mean, she is straight out up for it all the time, always. And so she turns to this girl, she says, "Well, if she's interested in adoption, I'd be interested." That's a sum total of her thought process. So she came home to me, and she described it. She said, "What would you think about that?" And I said, "Well, hadn't thought about it a whole lot, but let's see what happens." So eventually, in a few months, it materializes. One thing I was concerned about is I want to make sure that the parent did not. I wanted to be the parent. I didn't want anybody else involved, and so we made sure that had to happen. And then the day came that my oldest daughter was born, and when I came in the house, and they'd picked her up, my mother-in-law and my mother, and they put that little baby in my arms. I'm telling you, something happened that I cannot explain. There is no explanation for it. I can't describe it except the fact that she loved me and I loved her. And when I would enter a room and she would hear my voice, that little bassinet would start shaking and banging, and she and I have been that way from the day it's now been 38 years. And so we then went through the process that we all had to learn, just like you experienced probably for the first time, that we went to court. Because in the darkness in Virginia, the bureaucrats had discovered that they didn't like people doing stuff like that. That they get paid by how many children they can control. And didn't want that child going to a happy home. And so they got the legislature to pass a bill that no one could have an adoption in Virginia without the approval of the welfare department. And so all right, that means I got to get a lawyer. So Liz's brother, my wife's brother, her brother-in-law, was the senior partner at Taft, Stettinius & Hollister in Cincinnati. And so I knew they had a Washington office, and so we called him, and they called the Washington office, and they said, "Well, we don't do things in Virginia. We're only in D.C. But I'll call the law firm in Virginia. We'll recommend that." So we went to that law firm. Now we're 3 steps away, right? And there's a kid that just walked in the door, and he just gotten past his bar, and so they said, "Well, here's your first case." And so, unbelievable to me, I'm 30 years old and figure a lawyer knows what he's doing. And so we go in to meet with these folks, and we are the mirror opposites in every conceivable way. We're Midwest, they're not. We're happy, they're miserable. We're married, they're not. Everything that, and they determined early on, and this was when Ronald Reagan had become president, and for those of you who aren't old enough to remember that, and you're experiencing what's going on with Mr. Trump, let me just tell you, that's exactly the way they treated Ronald Reagan. They hated his guts. They hated everything about it, because he was about to take that 70 years of communism and kick it in the can, and they were distressed at that. And so we epitomized everything they despised, and so they ruled that we were unfit parents. And I tell that story to say this, because I can't conjure up the feeling that I got there, but I know that you all have felt it in your heart. As we were leaving the courthouse going to the car, I turned to my wife. I determined I wanted to be in Congress when I was in the 5th grade. Everything I ever did in anticipation was in that goal. When I was in college, I knew exactly who smoked marijuana and who didn't. And I'd never ride in their car because I didn't want to get stopped. And then on my record, I'm preparing for the day that I could run. Now I have my life stream, and this has happened. And I turned to Liz and I said, I will pump gas in Mexico before they ever get that child back. Now, I know what it's like when you're dealing with bureaucrats who don't feel what you feel. And that, I repeat, that's why I'm here to help you, but then I want to support you.